No, they didn't. They grew up with them like every other American child who's not well-adjusted and a little sociopath. Hi guys, welcome to this episode of Debate Me. I'm Miranda.
And I'm Jaden, and today's topic is going to be board games. For those of you who don't know, I've chosen this topic, so that means Miranda is going to get to pick her position first. So Miranda, board games, yes or no?
No.
All right, so I'll be taking the yes position, and off we go. Why no board games?
I will tell you why. I think that board games are actually terrible for the nuclear family and most friendships. I've had far too many relationships destroyed by a competitive game of Risk or a heated battle of Catan, which qualifies board games. Strategic board games, but board games nonetheless.
Well, hold on a second. Why do you have to qualify that Catan as a board game? Like, it's definitely a board game. Risk is like one of the earlier board games. It's what my dad plays.
That's the other thing. Board games, archaic, old, bad. Out with the old, in with the new, in with the apps.
What's new? App-based games? But you...
Yeah, why not?
Give me an app-based game that you play with people that's not just inherently awful.
Words with Friends is fun.
All right, you got me there. But I would argue that Words with Friends is just Scrabble with extra steps.
I think Scrabble is spelling with extra steps. Board games are archaic and complicated.
I'm going to fight you on this because Words with Friends is just how the government learns what words you can spell.
I thought we weren't going to politicize these videos.
I'm not politicizing these videos. That's just the truth.
So what, there's just this big archive of government data that's just like, Keith from Illinois can't spell boat correctly.
This is an important tangent. They're not recording what words you can't spell. They're recording what words you do know how to spell.
If you know how to spell rebellion, you're on somebody's list somewhere.
And if you know how to spell duck, you're on a different list.
The quack list! Quack, quack.
I'm just gonna let her spin like this for a minute. I do think that, like, digital Scrabble is just not necessarily worse Scrabble, but Scrabble without the, like, same level of human connection.
Think about how much more accessible it is in certain scenarios where you're really far away from your loved ones. Maybe it's a semester abroad. Maybe you have to travel for work. Maybe you're in quarantine. And now you get to connect with the people you love in this really fun game that doesn't require you to physically sit around a table for 2+ hours bickering with your family.
But I am going to argue that if you're in a new place, in a strange place, board games are a great way for you to connect with the people that are around you. In quarantine, board games are a great way for people to connect with the people around them. Don't you just love the hours and hours of board games we've been playing recently? Think about all the Game of Thrones Risk games in which I have personally killed Daenerys because she's a trump card.
Don't spread this Risk propaganda. We haven't played Risk in like 6 months.
Because I kill Daenerys every time.
And it's rude. I hate you.
Every time I do it, you look me in the eye as though I'm actively plunging a knife right into your heart, which is just such an evocative thing. That's the thing. Board games evoke such colorful emotions. It's something that you just can't achieve with a digital game or, you know, just not games. Because I feel like that's your position. Your position is either a replacement for board games or just not board games.
Imagine this scenario. You are sitting with someone, connecting. Mm-hmm. A fun game of, let's say, Trouble or Sorry. Some of the most inflammatory board games that you can play with children 5 and under.
Sorry, the board game that teaches you to be a dick.
And you can't just set it down and walk away in the same way you can with an app. You can set Words with Friends down if it gets too heated and walk away. You can't do that. You have to sit and just deal with this gucky conflict welling up inside you while you learn to hate your family.
No, they teach people that you need to be able to separate real conflict from fake conflict.
I have not even met an adult capable of that.
I would argue that's because board games just aren't as popular as they used to be because of the video games.
You see just as many board games being sold in popular chain stores as you see video games. Board games have seen a resurgence.
Yeah, but how many parties and things do you go to where you sit down to play, say, a longer game like Monopoly and you actually finish a game of Monopoly?
I would say it's about 1 in 1. How often do you go to a friend's house and sit and play a whole video game?
That's different, especially since most video games either do not have an outlined end or are purposefully designed to be 60 hours long. So that's not a reasonable expectation of a game.
That's the other reason why no board games. What's the fun in playing something that takes 6 hours to finish so you never actually finish it? You never get the satisfaction of ever winning Monopoly.
Who in your life? That is the most drawn out game I've ever heard. Board games shouldn't take that long. And they really don't tend to.
There are multiple games on the market that have a specific reputation for not being able to play to fruition. What's the point
like
of
what?
that? Monopoly!
The only reason Monopoly doesn't get played to fruition is because people play it wrong. Every time somebody lands on a space, if they don't want to or cannot afford to buy a property, that property is supposed to be auctioned off to the rest of the group.
That's the other thing then. These games are so archaic, nobody even knows their rules.
No, that's a problem with a society that promotes a lack of reading of the terms and conditions. If more people read the Monopoly manual, we'd be in a better place today.
Board games take up a lot of space.
Okay, no, that's fair. And this brings up an interesting question. Are card games board games?
No. Card games rule. There's no physical board.
There's no board. Technically, Munchkin is not a board game. It just includes a board for, convenience sake. The original game does not include a board.
Munchkin has the soul of a board game, a soul that deserves to rot in hell for all eternity.
Ooh. That brings up another interesting topic. Is D&D a board game?
No, it's an RPG.
But I have to bring out a board constantly to play the game.
That is specifically for visual and rule purposes.
Say what you just said out loud real slowly.
Let me clarify. It's for visual purposes to help players better realize where they are in relation to other players and
to better understand how you are engaging with the rules of the game.
Okay, but also I'm gonna say that it's not a board game if you can take away the board and still play it. We have played plenty of combat sessions with no board and no grid. I'd also argue that a grid is not a board.
It's an interesting argument.
Thank you.
I'm gonna refute it.
Incorrect.
By outright saying that you just said Munchkin belongs in that same ilk, and you can take the board away from Munchkin. And it's just there to help you visualize what's happening, and so that you can better understand the nature of the rules as you're applying them to the characters of the game.
Munchkin is the hill you want to die on.
No, D&D is the hill I want to die on, because if I can prove that D&D is a board game,
It's not!
If I can prove that D&D is a board game, then you're gonna have to concede pro board game. I know you love D&D.
You're preying on my love of Dungeons and Dragons. You're low. You're filth. You're dirt. Worm boy.
All right, fine. I'll take D&D off the table, and it's board as a board game.
These are my fighting hands.
I concede that board games do require some physical space, and some people might not have that physical space to have a lot of board games, but I guarantee you everybody has space for at least one. If for no other reason, then chess is considered to be a coffee table experience. I'm also going to say that you're coming at a man who is the proud recipient of the chess merit badge.
Good for you.
Thank you.
What does that have to do with yes or no board game? Don't distract from the argument by being tangential.
I wasn't being tangential. Chess is a board game.
No one wants to know about your personal life.
It's very important that we now talk about chess as a board game that is also ornamental.
Chess is elitist.
Then Go, which is also ornamental.
I'm pretty sure that game has, like, driven people to the brink of insanity. They have, like, fables about it. That's why no board games.
Oh god, you're gonna make me do so much research for this video.
I will make you do exactly one research. Board games are expensive. You want to have a fun time with your family? Pay $80 to Target now.
You don't need to, actually. There's a world of beta and new, as well as older, board games that are free online that you can simply print and immediately play. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna link in this video to a gentleman who has a wonderful video about this. Check it out somewhere around here. It's out here in the ether, but it's actually really interesting. Regardless of how you feel about this, this is amazing.
I would argue paper is not a board.
By that logic, Monopoly is not a board game because it's just paper glued to cardboard.
That makes a board!
Yeah, all you have to do is paste it to any cardboard. Forgive me, there are 2 steps in this that make it obnoxiously cheap to play any board game you would ever want to.
They'll drive your children to the brink of insanity, cause you to turn against your family members, and ultimately lead to the death of everyone you love. Don't play board games.
Board games teach people valuable life skills, how to reasonably resolve conflict, and separate the real from the false.
You know what you just said is false. We have had conversations about board games we have played where people we know, people we love, have not been able to do any of those things.
And that's
it's
because
very
they came
real.
to board games late in life.
No, they didn't. They grew up with them like every other American child who's not well adjusted and a little sociopath. Point for me.
I feel like your whole argument boils down to people are garbage.
And therefore the board games we play are garbage. Everything we touch, garbage.
I guess I'm just a little more hopeful about the world and my board games.
He is a fool. A beautiful fool, but a fool nonetheless.
Any last minute thoughts?
I won.
I disagree. I patently disagree. And I challenge you all to get in the comments.
Get in the comments!
Get in the comments.
Got any 3s?
No. Go fish. Got any 3s?
Oh god, I thought they would fail.
Why? They're plastic.
I made a mistake.
Ow.
I'm so sorry.
That's on camera.